Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you haven't already, please press the subscribe button, the like button, and leave a comment down below. Or you can wait till the end of the episode to let me know what your thoughts were about all the stories that we talked about. The theme of this episode is like affair stories / relationship issues. I'm pretty sure they're all affairs though. So let's get started on the first episode, shall we? This one does have an update. There is a content warning. The title of the first story is My 33 female husband, 36 male, may have cheated on me with my dead best friend and had an affair baby. We have read this story before, but there's a new update as of March 20th, 2025, which is crazy because that's my birthday. Okay, so we're going to read the original because I'm pretty sure it was a long time ago that we read this story. I don't even know where to start. The past 6 months have been an absolute cluster F, and it only seems to be getting worse. My best friend since elementary school, who I'll call Alice, passed away in February from cancer. She had a 2-year-old daughter who went into the custody of her mom after she passed away, who I'll call Alexis. Last month, Alexis showed up on our doorstep unannounced, telling my husband that he needs to take responsibility for his child and either take custody or start finally paying child support. She says that Alice had told her when her daughter was born who the father was, but didn't want anything to do with him. To answer the inevitable, Alice was a traveling nurse and made a lot of money, which is the only reason that I can think of for why she didn't go for child support. During the conversation, my husband had the worst panic attack he's ever had, so we had to end the conversation before I could get more details. My husband's story is, I don't even know. He said that Alice's daughter is probably his, but that it isn't what I think. Almost 3 years ago, we threw a large housewarming party as we just moved into our dream home after I finally finished residency and was set to make real money for once. Alice was in town and set to be at the party, but I was called into work before she got there. I didn't get back until after 3 a.m. The party was winding down. My husband was passed out upstairs and Alice had already left the party, which at the time I did find strange as we didn't see each other for months. My husband claims he woke up in the middle of the night to Alice on top of him, but he passed out again before he could say anything. He claims he never told me because he was worried I wouldn't believe him, which I don't know if I do. He showed me some texts he sent his best friend the next day asking for his advice about him thinking someone graped him, but if he cheated, he could have had that conversation as evidence, especially since he never said Alice specifically. Ever since the party, he has been very distant with Alice, and after she had her daughter, he would even find excuses to not be around the house when she would visit at all. I don't know if that's because he cheated or if Alice actually did grape him, and this was his trauma response. Honestly, Reddit, I don't know what to do. I've known Alice since we were children, and she had never come across as that kind of person. But I've known my husband for over a decade, and he's not once ever given the inclination of a cheater. He's an attractive guy, and I've seen the looks he gets at the gym, and he's never even given more than a glance. What the hell should I do? How do I figure out what the truth is here when Alice isn't even around to defend herself? She never even implied that she liked my husband, let alone would want to sleep with him. I told my husband he needs to get DNA tested before anything is decided on the child's part. But in the meantime, he needs to move out while I think about what I'm going to do here. I remember this story very vividly. I know that, so there's another update that was like posted pretty quickly after she posted this story originally. And so we're going to read that one as well, even though we've definitely read both of these before, but I want to refresh your guys' memory, so I hope like that's not annoying that I'm like rereading these two stories. But then after that, there is the 7-month later update that we're going to read. So, all right. My husband may have cheated on me with my dead best friend and had an affair baby. Update 1. Update in the post after reading the comments. After talking with you, I've come to a realization that my husband is being truthful. My best friend R-worded him. Several people pointed out that with Alice not liking my husband, if it was an affair, she would have told me when she was dying, if only to separate us. You're absolutely right. I was there in the room while she passed. I held her hand for days. We talked about so much. If it was just an affair, she would have told me. But if she graped my husband, she wouldn't have said a word. That's the type of thing horrible people take to the grave. I've also come to the realization that I made a terrible mistake asking my husband to leave for a few days while I gather my thoughts. Not to make excuses, but losing my best friend to cancer, a long cancer fight at that, was brutal. To say that I was devastated wouldn't do it justice. That only happened 6 months ago. I'm still feeling it every day. So to have this thrown on me, it's like losing her all over again. Either she betrayed me and effed my husband, or she betrayed me and raped my husband. Not only have I lost her, but now I've lost the good memories, an entire lifetime's worth. It was impossible for me to look at him and not also see her, and be struck with the horror and realization of that loss all over again. I felt I needed to be able to break down, grieve, and think without the fresh wave of loss I got every time I saw him. It was wrong of me to ask him to leave. You're right, though. And as of a few minutes ago, I righted this wrong. I called my husband, I apologized, told him I believed him, and begged him to come home. He'll be here in half an hour at most, and I'm going to support my husband the way I know he would have supported me. I've been on and off Reddit user for several years, and sometimes the advice given on the subreddits like these can be a hit or miss, but today you guys did good. You've helped me realize not only was I wrong and being stupid at that, but that I was hurting the person that needed me the most. I was selfish. I have no idea what we're going to do as far as the potential daughter is concerned, but I can assure you we'll deal with it together. It's going to take a lot of time and probably a lot of therapy to grieve this new loss. I feel numb now, as though I'll never cry again. My best friend raped my husband, which means she was no friend of mine. She flaunted it, coming to my house, sitting with me and gabbing. She brought her child over here, trying to rub it in his face right in front of me. She tortured the man I loved, and I was unknowingly a party to it. I feel sick to my stomach over how many times she came over just to hold it over him. I'm honestly at a loss on how to make that up to him. If you all have any ideas, please feel free to give them to me. I think I'll need all the help I can get. Tomorrow I'm going to take a leave of absence from work just until we can figure out our next steps and we can get our heads on straight. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so now this is the most recent update. My husband may have cheated on me with my dead best friend and had an affair baby. Update, March 20th, 2025. I've received a lot of messages asking for an update, so I've decided to finally sit down and write one out. As you can imagine, after the cluster F that was thrust upon us, this update isn't likely to answer any of your questions, only present a few more. I want to start telling you that I love and trust my husband. My reaction to ask him for space to think in retrospect was wrong, but at the same time, I didn't know what to think. It was a combination of losing my best friend again and also the fear that I was losing my husband that sent me spiraling. Again, it was a mistake to ask him to leave, and I did rectify that in the end. Now for the update. As mentioned in the original post, I did take a leave of absence from work, and we spent a long time just being together, talking, reaffirming our love for one another, and figuring out what to do next. We, of course, spoke with a lawyer, and my husband was very adamant about not having anything to do with the child, but was willing to offer financial support as needed. So we agreed to do a DNA test immediately to prove paternity and then go from there. Didn't know you could buy tests on Amazon, but with only a few weeks processing, it was the easiest path forward since Alexis lives hours away. To everyone's surprise, Alice's daughter is not my husband's. We ended up testing twice, both very, very definitive. The first test we performed ourselves as mentioned, and another after Alexis refused to believe the first test and took my husband to court for child support. For a single second, this whole thing made me second guess if my husband really was raped, that this could have been her way of forcing my husband to admit to an affair. But after talking with Alexis, I don't think that was the plan. Alexis says that Alice told her my husband was the father under strict confidence, demanding that she never ever tell me or my husband. We were only ever to be told if Alexis died before Alice's daughter was old enough to take care of her herself, so that she wouldn't end up in foster care. The only reason Alexis came to us then, instead of keeping that secret, is because Alice's life insurance wasn't being released yet, and she was out of options. She also felt that I should know my husband and her daughter had an affair. This all reaffirms in my mind that Alice did rape my husband, with the exception of getting pregnant with his child. She obviously had other partners at this time, since one of them fathered her daughter, but no one knows who. It's clear to me that Alice believed that it was my husband. I did suggest Alexis upload a sample to Ancestry, see if any matches pop up, but as Alice traveled all over for work, I don't know that anything will ever come of that. In truth, I've washed my hands of this situation. Alice did enough damage, and I don't particularly plan to be around for any more. My husband and I have gone through a lot of counseling and will likely continue for a while. This whole situation damaged us both, my husband more obviously, and I don't think will fully heal for a very long time. To answer a few questions, no, sadly, there isn't a hidden diary or text to explain what the F was going on. My husband and I are not getting divorced. He understands why I reacted the way I did and has been strong when I was weak before. I've spent the past 7 months being strong while he was weak, so we're considering the whole thing even. We are still madly in love and plan to be together for a long time still. No, we will not be adopting Alice's child. If she had been my husband's, we would not have been adopting the child. Ultimately, I thank Reddit for setting me straight. There was a massive outpouring of support and corrective advice. To say I got a slap in the face would be descriptive, but apt way to put it. I needed it then, and I thank you for it. To say that you may have saved my marriage is an understatement. I do, however, have some good news. During my leave of absence, while my husband and I rediscovered what makes us love each other the most, I got pregnant. We were expecting our first baby, a girl, in a little over 3 months, and my husband and I are ecstatic. And no, we will not be naming her after my dead ex-best friend. Wait, why am I kind of mad? Why am I kind of mad at this girl? Like, why am I kind of pissed? Because in the second update, she's like, I believe him. This is terrible. I'm totally on his side. I can't believe she did this. And then all of a sudden, you don't believe him again? Like, I feel like you can't keep going back and forth with believing him and not believing him. Like, I get having the inner conflict, but I'm assuming that she's told him that. Like, I get, because with anything, right, even if you truly, even sometimes if you truly don't believe that, your brain will trick you sometimes into thinking certain things. And, you know that it's just not logical. So you just, keep that in the brain, like in the episode in SpongeBob where he's, organizing the files in his brain. You keep that somewhere in, the don't say this out loud, So, her saying, I'm wondering if he had an affair still 7 months later after all this, after saying that you believe him, after going through all of this, after he's clearly distraught and disheveled, it makes me kind of annoyed. I don't know if I'm going to be the only one that feels this way, but I kind of am the whole time that I was reading that, I was just getting this feeling of hatred in my body. And I was like, why are you being like that? Why are you saying all of a sudden that you don't believe him again? You gotta stop. You gotta stop doing that. But we're gonna read some comments. Okay. I'm willing to bet she was jealous of your life and for a minute wanted to know what it felt like to be you. So she waited for your husband to be in a vulnerable position, intoxicated and passed out, and took her shot. She probably had random partners to either make her feel less guilty about raping him or try and get pregnant and really take a shot at him, making him believe her kid was his and maybe he'd kick you out and move her in. She probably told her mom it was your husband's child to save face and did not have to say she didn't actually know. She probably figured no DNA test would be done, but even if it was, she wouldn't be here for the fallout. She truly was a shitty human being. I'm so happy for you both that it's not his child. It's bad enough that she raped him, but to have to deal with the child on top of that would be horrible. Enjoy your little one, and hopefully you can put this all behind you now. Someone said, honestly, I just think she wanted a child. She was sleeping with multiple people. I hope for the sake of the child she finds answers regarding her dad, if that is something she eventually wants. The Ancestry website thing was a good suggestion as a place to start. Okay. This person said she figured I could and should have done better. So it was great for the usual reasons it's great. She looked down on him. She didn't view him as a person in the same way she, with her well-paying job, was a person, and she treated him as such. It is about sex, yes, but it is also about power. It is both. She made that extra clear when she spent the rest of her life tormenting him with no sign of regret. She dehumanized him. Yeah, looking at him afterwards was probably so fun to her and hurtful for him. She must have thrived on that power dynamic, completely disregarding his trauma. That's sick. Well, overall, this had a happier ending than I expected. This reminds me of a post yesterday about people not wanting to hear loved ones' deathbed confessions. So many people couldn't understand not wanting to be burdened with unwanted information. Now people have to contend with false deathbed confessions. My last words will be, I buried the money at just to keep it interesting. Drink for the husband until Alexis put it out in the open. He was gonna just grin and bear it. I got you, bro. Well, F me. With a best friend like that, who needs enemies? That has to have been an absolute nightmare for them to go through, but thank God the child isn't his. Even if they hadn't taken custody and paid child support, it would have been a constant reminder of what that woman did to him. Every time a payment was made, it's going to be easier to move on with their lives now, but that isn't going to happen. Sucks for the grandma and the kid that they don't know who the baby daddy is, but it isn't on OOP, her husband and her husband, to fix their problems. Someone said there are a lot of shitty people out there, including people you think are solid, but are just waiting on their time to show their true colors. My former best friend essayed my wife in a situation very similar to this. She was also blackout drunk. It really messes with you. I'd known him for years and would never have expected that he could do something like that. If you can't trust your closest friends, can you really trust anyone? I'm hesitant of the Reddit brigade at times as they're quick to assume affairs, but in this case, I'm glad they helped OOP see the error in her ways. I'm also glad she listened and took immediate steps to rectify her wrong and provide support to her husband. I wish them all the happiness in the world. I'm great to see that we're making progress towards believing and supporting men who have been victims of sexual assault. We can't fight for equality while perpetuating a men don't suffer attitude. Men can very well be victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Nobody should have to experience violence of any kind and have to worry about not being believed or worse, be ridiculed when coming forward. Yeah, I mean, no one's really saying anything about what I was saying, but I'm not going to deny that I was pretty mad reading that update, to be honest. Like, I don't know, just the being so, going back on, like, for a single second, this whole thing made me second guess if he was really, like, stop second guessing. You're actually making me mad. And then, like, having to go get, because it's almost like, that feeling of, like, reassurance that you need over and over again. Like, for example, I feel like when you're with a partner that doesn't affirm you in the way that your love language needs to be affirmed, like, for me, it's words of affirmation. So if I don't get, like, words of affirmation, I seek it out often. Like, in my last relationship, I never got affirmation ever. So, like, I would constantly seek it out. And it was almost like a compulsion. Like, I needed this reassurance to keep me fed for a little bit. And then I slowly got hungry for the reassurance again. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, now I need the reassurance again. Like, I need to make sure that this is real. This person really still loves me. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope that she's, like, solid on this now and truly believes it and isn't going to keep going back on whether she believes him or not, because that can be very harmful to a victim of SA, or just honestly a victim of, like, anything, and not believing them can be very harmful. So please, for the love of God. On to the next story, and this one is short. The title is, Am I the Asshole for Exposing My Wife's Affair at Our Anniversary Dinner? Throwaway because this is a mess. My 35 male wife, 34 female, and I just had our 10-year anniversary. I planned a fancy dinner with our close friends and family. Everything was great until I noticed my wife acting weird with her phone. I glanced over and saw, "Good night, babe," from a name that I didn't recognize. I excused myself, went to the restroom, and did something I probably shouldn't have. I checked her phone. She placed it on her coat hanging from the chair. Turns out she's been having an affair with Mark, a coworker. Explicit texts, plans to meet up, even complaints about me. I was furious. Instead of confronting her privately, I stood up, tapped my glass, and said, "I just want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate our love, and a special thanks to Mark for keeping my wife entertained when I'm not around." And then I walked out. She's been crying and saying I humiliated her. Our friends are split. Some say she deserved it. Others think I went too far. So am I the asshole? Edit. No, we are not divorcing. Hi guys! Sorry to interrupt, but if you want extra content weekly, go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/storytimesociety. If you want to listen on Spotify because you're trying to fall asleep or you're driving, then head to the link in the description. And if you're there and you don't mind, please rate me 5 stars on there. It really helps with the algorithm. And then the last thing is we have a subreddit linked below. We have a lot of things linked below, but the subreddit, you can share any stories that you want to share. Okay, thanks. Love you guys. Okay, interesting. See, if I were to say any story was fake, this would be that story. I feel like usually people are always like, this story is so fake. And it can be like the most detailed thing in the world. But I'm reading this and I'm like, huh? Okay. There was no details. Hello? Like, give me more, please. I mean, I don't really know. That's all you're going to say about it? Okay. All right. But let's read some comments and see what people are saying, anyways. I must admit, I did laugh when you said that she claimed that you humiliated her. If your friends are split, that's a fair indication of who you are misnaming friends. Some suggest you went too far, not as far as she did. Not the asshole. Agreed. What I always find low, even for cheaters, is when they start complaining about their spouse to the person they cheated with. I hope she cried a lot. Sad truth is, she's crying about being humiliated in front of friends and family, but not about Mark in the affair. Humiliation? Seriously? She humiliated you by having this affair. If you're fairly describing the facts and timing, then your reaction was absolutely appropriate to the moment. I am sorry for the pain you're suffering. See a lawyer. Yeah, I mean, if that's real, which obviously something like that in the world probably has happened, as I always say with like any fake story, but I'm just kind of annoyed because I thought that was a real story. And then I read it and changed my mind. But we're going to move on to the next story because I don't want to talk about that story too much because I'm not really even sure if it was real. Okay. The next title is, Am I the asshole for embarrassing my stepmother by telling our neighbor that her relationship is a product of an affair? My 16 female birthday is soon. I want to celebrate with my mom and siblings on the actual day, but my dad asked if I could come over to his to celebrate my birthday as well as his housewarming party. Anyways, I did not want to come. I'm not on good terms with my dad or his wife and new kids, but because of the custody arrangements, I have to spend some weekends with him. My stepmom is someone who is very eager to please everyone, and she loves to brag about her lifestyle. She just carries herself in an extremely condescending way. My parents divorced when I was 7, while my mom was going through chemotherapy for stage 3 breast cancer. My dad had an affair when my mom was in the hospital, and he said that it was due to the stress of having to look after us and that he needed some female comfort, whatever the hell that means. They tried to make things work after the affair, but they could never since my dad wouldn't stop seeing my now stepmom, who was my mom's coworker. This was the biggest betrayal. My mom worked in a small business. Everyone was like family, and her coworkers visited us often and used to bring us goodie bags, and my stepmom was one of them. They've been married for 9 years now, and I have never been able to have a relationship with them. So during the housewarming event, one of the neighbors approached me and asked how I feel about having a stepmom and a blended family. She was asking me because her daughter, who is a similar age range to me, struggles with it. I just flat out told her that I don't view them as family because their affair broke any relationship. She was visibly shocked, and my stepmom was bright red and was stuttering, saying that there was no overlap and that I was just young and confused. She proceeded to lock herself up in her room crying, and when the party was over, my dad screamed at me, saying that I'm so hard to love and that I'm so bitter. I told him that I feel the same way. I tried to act like it didn't hurt me, but I'm so upset that my own father would say this to me. I always knew he loved his family. I always knew he loves his new family more than me, but I didn't expect him to say it outright. My stepmom said that if I come over, she would no longer spend weekends with him and will take the kids away. My dad is on the phone with my mom asking if it would be fine if I no longer came over. My stepmom is now refusing to leave the house, saying she's humiliated and can no longer show her face around the neighborhood, which is quite close knit. So, do you guys think that I'm the asshole? I know what I did was wrong, but what they did was 100 times worse. Just looking for an objective opinion. Huh? No. What? Your dad cheated on your mom while she was going through chemotherapy for stage 3 breast cancer, and then also made the excuse that he was stressed because he had to take care of the kids while this was happening. Like, oh, guess who was probably more stressed? The woman that was going through stage 3 breast cancer and having to get chemotherapy. Excuse me? That's just like scary to me because I don't know. I just can't believe that stuff like that makes people cheat, because like this isn't an uncommon thing. Happens time and time again with relationships, and it's just so crazy to me, because of course that's going to be like a really hard time in your life, and of course you're going to feel more stressed than usual. You're going to feel like more pressure is on you about just life, and especially if you have kids, and then like just having to deal with a partner that is going through chemo would be so hard. But like, does that mean that you have any right or any excuse or any valid excuse to go cheat on your spouse? No. Like, if anything, you need to buckle the fuck up, put on your big boy panties, and deal with it while she's going through it, and like pick up slack. And no one says it's going to be easy. Like, of course that's not easy, but you get married knowing that like things like this in life happen, and you should be prepared to support your partner in hard times like this. It's as simple as ABC 1, 2, 3. Do re mi. Okay, let's read some comments. Funny, I stuck by my wife with her stage 4 with 3 daughters and never thought once about cheating. Sorry, but your dad is such a weak asshole. Yeah, the last thing on my mind would, like, first of all, would be cheating. Second of all, would be sex. Like, I'd be stressed, crying every night, thinking about how my partner's having to go through chemotherapy and has cancer, and I don't know the likelihood of dying with, I don't know the likelihood of dying at this stage of cancer, but I feel like at any, like, even if it's stage 1 cancer, I'm still so scared and sad, and I'm like, oh my god, what if you die? I'm still scared and sad even though my boyfriend is 100% healthy. Like, just thinking about what if he does die one day, you know? Like, he's 100% healthy with nothing wrong with him, and I still am like, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, what if he dies before me? Like, I'm gonna literally want to jump out the window. So it's crazy. Okay, this person said, how do people even have the energy to cheat in situations like this, let alone the inclination? He was presumed working full-time, paying the bills, and ferrying his wife back and forth for chemo, raising his 7-year-old daughter during such a traumatic time, and somehow found the energy to go and find a mistress? Wild. Not the asshole. Yeah, and that, like, they both deserve that. Also, the fact that the dad just so easily was like, okay, fine, you're not coming over anymore. You're so hard to love. Like, boo, tomatoes. Get over it. Like, if that was my daughter, I would never want to just, like, send her away. I would want to prove to her, like, I want to be in her life and I made a mistake and that I can change and that I can grow. And you know what I mean? Like, I would want to make sure that at some point in her life she forgave me and didn't just think that I like gave up on her. And also, really, stepmom, I can't show my face in the neighborhood. Like, then don't do stupid shit. Like, it's not that hard, actually, to sleep with to not sleep with someone's partner. Okay, OP said, my big sister used to look after me a lot of the time while my dad stayed out late. He was hardly looking after me, so I don't know why he claimed that he was so stressed. T, sister. Well, it could have been worse. You could have told everyone the lying, two-faced homewrecker stepmom was your mom's colleague and cheating with your asshole of a dad whose mom had cancer. Or when your mom had cancer. Someone said, oh, honey, you must be confused about the timeline. There was no overlap. No, actually, I remember everything quite clearly. The affair started right after my mom went into the hospital for cancer. I remember that big fight over it just before her second operation. She said she hoped the cancer would take her so she didn't have to watch her husband leave her for another woman. As a kid, I thought he liked you better because you had hair, and my mom had lost all of hers from the chemo. Isn't it crazy what kids come up with? Anyways, enjoy the party. Oh, no overlap? Must have thought mom already died to say that, but oh wait, she visited when mom was in the hospital. Didn't stop her from fucking the dad though. And it was my sister who stepped up, not my dad. Too busy with his D. It's okay. He's made it clear he likes his homewrecker's family more. Strange how, if reversed, mom would have stayed with him, but him being a weak-ass man that had he had to leave. He couldn't handle a rough patch. Sickness and in health clearly didn't mean anything. And you know what they say, you're only as good as your words, and he broke his. So no surprise that they are lying or struggling with the truth and timelines when they have such gross behavior. Oh, someone said it's exactly what she should have said. Might as well let them have it. At least it sounds like you have a great mom and she was successful in beating cancer. My mother also survived stage 4 cancer, and I remember my dad was always tired and always home just watching her sleep off the chemo when he could. Sending you good vibes. I couldn't even imagine. Like the way that I would literally be just every day in the hospital, like I don't even know what I would do because I don't know how I would make money because I wouldn't be able to leave the side of my partner. If he got cancer, I would need to be next to him 24/7 and never leave. Like, I don't even know. That's crazy to me. Ugh, that's sickening. That's actually sickening. It's crazy to me because it's like, don't marry someone if you don't truly love them, because that just proves to me that you didn't truly love this woman. The fact that you couldn't stick it out in such a time of like distress and her going through something so serious is just crazy to me, and it's really upsetting. We're going to move on to the advice segment. That's the end of the story time segment. This advice segment is where I answer your guys' advice questions. So if you ever want unprofessional advice from me, the link is in the description below, and just give me as much detail as possible. And it's completely anonymous to the viewers, but I do collect email addresses for this one. Ooh, I almost just threw up. Okay. All right. This says, one of my husband's sisters gives incest vibes. Okay, to be clear, my husband is not incesty, but one of his sisters has made various remarks that give me the mother effing creeps. This didn't start until we were engaged. I'll start by listing all involved. Me, 28 female, my husband, 30 male, the sister, 38 female. Prior to us getting engaged, my husband lived in his house with 3 of his sisters. One got a man and moved out, the other 2 stayed, and the one acted like she owned the place. They took forever to move out, and my husband ended up having to get kind of stern and tell them, I am moving in, they can't stay, it's not their house. After I moved in, the sister in question here would make weird little remarks on any painting or decor that I would change. Meanwhile, I'll just be straight up. She's a filthy hoarder. Next issue came when my neighbor, a good friend of mine, said that he saw her at the bank. Apparently, she was talking mad shit and said that I am a bad influence on my husband, and she can't believe he replaced her with me, and that I am half of what she is. Ew, I won't even go into why, but I'm more successful than her in any way you can imagine. It just is what it is. We confronted her, and she vehemently, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that. I've heard it before, but I can't think of how you pronounce it. Vehemently, I think. Vehemently? I feel like I'm saying too many, like, I'm saying the syllables too distinctly, but I don't know. Denied she ever said such things. My husband thinks our neighbor just wanted to start shit. I disagree. It was too specific, and he has no reason to. He's married too, and his wife confirmed that she heard the same thing. The next thing came at a church service for a funeral. She, of course, sat on the other side of my husband from me. He apparently had gotten a very small hole in his pants. I'm talking fingernail size, but it was like between balls and booty in location. Tell me why she decided to point this out. Why are you looking there so intently? You literally could not see it. His pants were black. His underwear were even black. Apart from that, there's been several instances where she'd laugh about people thinking they, her and my husband, were a couple, even if they were out anywhere. I don't know if it's relevant, but she's never had a relationship. To me, it's the whole compilation of things that have occurred. Could this be what I'm thinking it is? What do you think? And is there anything you would do? Okay, I feel like I've been around sisters that have been like this with their brothers, and I don't know if, like, in my specific situations, specifically, I'm thinking of one girl that I went to high school with who would, like, constantly, she would get mad when people would hook up with her brother. Like, he was one of the really popular guys, and he was a couple grades older than me. I think he was, like, 2 or 3 grades older than me. And he was one of the like popular kids. He was really funny. He was like class clown kind of vibes, and a lot of people like loved him. And a lot of people thought that he was like really hot. I personally like he's a good-looking guy, but I wasn't like, "Oh my god, he's so sexy." I thought he was just like a normal looking guy, but that's besides the point. But she would like if she would find out that someone was hooking up with her brother that she knew, which obviously she knew everyone in our high school, and like a bunch of girls in our high school hooked up with him, and like some of my friends had hooked up with him, and I was kind of like mutual. I was kind of friends with this girl, but not like really, but we would talk and stuff if we were around each other. And she would be so weird about it. She'd be like so upset. She'd be like, "I can't believe that she hooked up with my brother. Like I can't believe it." And it was just so weird because if someone like when someone would hook up with my brother and I would find out, I'd be like, "Good for you. Please don't talk to me about it." Like, please, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about that. I don't ever want to picture that in my head. I don't need to know. But she would also just kind of like, she would constantly bring him up in conversation. She would constantly like brag about him in different ways. And it was just such weird vibes and so odd. And everyone thought this. Everyone thought she was obsessed with her brother. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me like making this up. A lot of people were like, she's so weird with her brother. Like the way that she acts, like she is jealous that people are hooking up with him. And so I can even imagine being like his girlfriend at the time. And I don't think she was this crazy. Like, I don't think she was as crazy as you're describing. Like, that's insane to me that she was saying, she's not even half of what I am. Like, that's so weird. Even if she was better than you, why is she saying that like comparative to her brother's fiance? That's so creepy. I would understand being like saying that about an ex that got a new girlfriend or something and being like, "Ugh, I'm so much better than her. Like, I can't believe he's replacing me with her." But to say that about your brother is so weird to me. And I do think that it could be like I don't think that she probably doesn't really want to like, well, I don't know. Sometimes that's the case, but she probably really doesn't want to actually like date him or do anything sexual with him, I hope. But I'm assuming she's just like a little overly obsessed with her brother, and maybe I don't know if he was like the cool kid or something, so she's always like, even though she's older than him, she's always kind of looked up to him in that kind of way or what. But I personally wouldn't do anything. Like, I would just sit back and laugh and be like, "That's so embarrassing," and then maybe like talk shit to my friends about her and like tell them how crazy she is. But that's probably all I would do, honestly, because like, what are you gonna do? Like, uh, unless she specifically is like really weird and is in front of you and you feel like it's a perfect time to like interject and be like, "Ew, why would you say that?" Like, if she was saying something in front of you, like, "I can't believe you're replacing her or me with her." If she said that in front of you, then absolutely I would say something. I'd be like, "What do you mean replacing? That's so weird. You're his sister. That's so weird." I would be like trying to make her feel kind of weird for that so that maybe she could recognize. But I don't know. It sounds like she's just weird, and maybe like you just don't even need to get involved in her little weird little world that she has going on. But I hope that helps. I feel like, ugh, ew. It's so weird when family members are like that. Like, it's just so, and it's so often with mothers and sisters that have sons and brothers. It's just so weird to me. It's like, I could never imagine. I have one brother, and I have never once, like, said anything even similar to that or ever been like not supportive. Well, I've been mostly supportive of all of his relationships, but I've only ever not been kind of not that supportive with like one relationship, and I wasn't like outwardly saying anything to him or anyone that he knows. Like, I would kind of just talk to my mom about it because I had valid reasons, and it wasn't like I was like, "I can't believe that he's not dating me and he's dating this girl." Never was it like that. It was just like she was very unhealthy in a lot of ways, and I didn't want my brother to be like with her anymore because she was just not healthy. Like, point blank. There was a lot of things that she did that were very scary and immature, and also she had a lot of, I don't know how to even explain it without like going into the whole lore about her, but they did end up breaking up. So, but anyways, other than that, like I was always so supportive of him being in a relationship. Like I always wanted him to be in a relationship in high school. I would literally try to set him up with my friends, and he ended up dating someone, actually not my, like she wasn't necessarily my friend, but she was friends with some of my friends, and she was older than me, which is good because my brother's like, how old is my brother? My brother's like 5 years older than me, I think. And this girl was like 2 years older than me, or 3 years older than me. I don't know. And they started dating, and she was literally, I loved her so much. She was an angel, a literal angel. Everyone loved her. She was so nice, so cute. And ugh, I can't believe it's actually so sad that they broke up because they dated for a while. Like they were dating for years. And I feel like it's when you're in high school, it's like so different to have like a long-term relationship when you're in high school. I think they dated for 3 or 4 years. And she was like prom queen in our high school and everything. And like prom queen was not like a huge deal in our school, but it was definitely based off like who was most likable in our school. So if that tells you anything. Um, but yeah, it was so sad that they broke up because he was so stupid. I've told you guys a lot about how like my trauma with him going to jail and stuff and being like a drug dealer and stuff. It was not fun, but um, yeah, we had to move houses a lot and he would always be getting in trouble. And it was crazy because like he was doing all of this while he was dating this prom queen perfect A+ student who was gonna go to school for like she went to school for engineering. She was like in every AP honors class ever. Crazy. And he was just over here like trapping. I don't even like what are you doing? It was just crazy, but yeah, so the last time he had gotten arrested so many times, and she was like, if you get arrested one more time, I can't believe her parents even like let her date him, because I'm sure they like heard through the grapevine what was happening. He's like always been a very nice kid, and he treated her like a literal angel, but like still that doesn't take away the fact that he was literally going in and out of jail, getting arrested, and selling drugs. So not someone I would want my daughter dating, but yeah, so she was like, if you get arrested one more time, like we're breaking up. And then oh, it was tragic because I remember the last time that he ever got arrested. It was like, I think it was a junior or a senior. I think it was a junior in high school. And the cops came knocking. He wasn't home, but when the cops come knocking and you're by yourself, because I lived alone, you open the door. And when they're pounding on your door and they say they have a search warrant, yeah, you open your door. So I open my door and they come in, they search, they flip the whole damn apartment upside down, and he gets arrested. They come to the apartment together, and I just see the look on her face, and she's so disappointed and upset. And they pretty much break up right there on the spot. And he goes off. And this was the last time that he ever got arrested, and he was in jail for a while. Not like that long, but it was like 6 months. And it was really sad. I talked to him so much about it after. Like, he was just really depressed for a while about it. And it was really sad. And I felt so bad for him. But hey, you can't keep doing that shit if you want to keep the person in your life, you know? I would have done the same thing if I was dating someone that was getting arrested over and over again. Like, I don't want to have to deal with that. I want to be with someone that is going to be like able to support me. And even though obviously they were just in high school, it's like that's scary if this is what's happening early on in like your life. It kind of is looking like that sets a trajectory in your life, and I wouldn't want to be involved with that either. But they definitely had a lot of different values, I feel like, in general. Like, I don't think they would have lasted that long anyways, unless, I don't know, because my brother's changed a lot. Like, he doesn't want kids. He got a vasectomy, so he's not going to have kids, and I never like knew that he didn't want kids, but so he isn't going to have kids, and this girl had a baby a couple years ago, and she got married like many years ago, and she's much younger than him. Not much, but like 3 years younger than him or something. And yeah, so my brother did get married though, like 2 years ago, I think, but he's not having kids. So that's tea. I don't even know what got me starting to talk about that, but it's really crazy, the stuff that happens. Like, because nothing happens in my life anymore. My life is so not dramatic. It's crazy because I think about how much stuff, like, I guess maybe my family was just dramatic. I don't know. Is this normal? Like, is it normal for so many, like, crazy dramatic things to be happening around you when you're growing up? Because it wasn't anything, like, nothing even happened to me specifically. Like, nothing personally really happened to me. Like, maybe, with boys and stuff, a couple weird things with, like, age difference. So weird. Ew. Like, I don't even know if I want to say. I feel like now I realize that it was weird, but back then, like, I didn't think that it was weird. But when I was, like, 13, ew, that's actually disgusting and scary. I was, like, 13, and I went to this party with my friends. And I hooked up with, like, a 27-year-old. But not, like, a hookup. We, like, did a couple things, but I was not, I literally was a virgin. I was not gonna have sex with him. And that's crazy to think back on. I just turned 27, and he was hooking up with a 13-year-old. What? I don't even think I've seen a 13-year-old in, like, years. I haven't talked to a 13-year-old probably since I was 13. Like, I can't believe that was a thing. That's so scary. Like, I think about that sometimes, and I'm like, and I did not feel great about that situation after. Like, I felt so weird, and also my friends were, like, a couple years older than me. My friends were, like, 15, I was, like, 13, and they're the ones who brought me to the party, and, like, it's so funny because they were so much older than me at the time when they really weren't, but, like, at the time it seems so much older, and they judged the fuck out of me. They were like, "I can't believe you hooked up with him." I was like, "Why are you judging me? Like, why don't you go judge the 27-year-old that just hooked up with a 13-year-old? How about?" Because obviously when I'm, like, 13, I think that, like, he's so cool because he's older and he's, like, so, oh my God, he's so cool. No. No, he's not. That's fucking weird. It's illegal, first of all. Illegal. And I didn't even think about that at the time. I don't even think I knew that was illegal at the time, to be honest, because that's how, like, young and innocent I was. But anyways, that's some lore for you today. Just drop that crazy lore at the end of the episode. But yeah, I gotta go. So I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. But I love you, and I'll see you later. Bye. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.